The rain drums against the windows of Elena's downtown apartment as she curls deeper into the oversized sweater that still smells faintly of him. 6 months. 6 months since that accidental FaceTime call shattered her world into 1,000 glittering pieces. 6 months since she saw David's face, flushed and breathless, hovering above someone who wasn't her. Her phone buzzes against the coffee table. His name flashes on the screen. She shouldn't answer. Dr. Martinez told her she doesn't owe him anything, not her time, not her forgiveness, certainly not her presence. But her finger hovers over the green button because somewhere beneath the hurt lives a stubborn ember of what they used to be. Elena. His voice flows through the speaker like aged whiskey, warm and complex and dangerous. Thank you for picking up. She says nothing. Outside, the city blurs through rain-streaked glass. I know you don't want to see me. He clears his throat, and she can picture him running his hand through his dark hair, the way he always does when he's nervous. But there's something I need to show you, something I found. David, please, just meet me at Meridian Gallery. 20 minutes. If you come and you still want nothing to do with me after that, I'll stop calling. I'll sign whatever papers you want. I'll disappear. The line goes quiet except for their synchronized breathing. She closes her eyes and lets herself remember David's laugh echoing through their first apartment, the way he'd trace patterns on her bare shoulder while she dozed on Sunday mornings, how he used to look at her like she was his North Star. Before the late meetings, before the distance, before everything crumbled. Meridian Gallery, she whispers, and hangs up before she can change her mind. 23 minutes later, she stands before the gallery's illuminated windows. The space glows golden against the storm, and through the glass she sees him. David paces between sculptures, his charcoal suit wrinkled, his usually perfect hair disheveled. He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Their eyes meet through the window and time stutters. He's at the door before she can knock, pulling it open with a desperation that makes her chest tight. This close, she can see the exhaustion etched around his green eyes, the shadow of stubble darkening his jaw. This close, she can smell his cologne cedar and bergamot and something uniquely him that makes her traitorous body remember things she's spent months trying to forget. You came, he breathes, and there's wonder in his voice like she's just performed a miracle. I'm here for 5 minutes. David, that's all. But she doesn't step back when he moves closer, doesn't flinch when his fingers almost brush her arm. As he gestures toward the center of the gallery, do you remember when we first met? His voice is soft, intimate. Right here, at the opening for that terrible installation artist, whose name I can never remember. She does remember. God help her, she remembers everything. How he'd appeared at her elbow with champagne and a wickedly funny comment about the artist's pretentious statement. How they'd talked until the gallery closed around them. How he'd kissed her in the rain outside, pressing her against the brick wall while the city sparkled behind her closed eyelids. You wore that blue dress, he continues, moving toward a piece she doesn't recognize, a sculpture of intertwined figures, carved from pale stone, the one with the buttons down the back. I spent the entire evening wanting to. He trails off, but the words hang between them anyway. Wanting to touch, wanting to taste, wanting to unbutton each tiny pearl disc with his teeth while she arched beneath him. David. Her voice cracks on his name. Why are we here? He stops in front of the sculpture and turns to face her fully. Because I commissioned this for you. Before. He swallows hard. Before I destroyed everything. Elena steps closer despite herself, drawn by the raw pain in his voice. The sculpture is exquisite to figures carved from single block of marble, their bodies curved around each other like they're dancing, or making love, or saying goodbye. The artist has captured something achingly beautiful in the stone, longing, and tenderness, and a connection so deep it seems to pulse with life. I was going to give it to you on our anniversary, David says quietly. I was going to tell you that I wanted to renew our vows, that I wanted to start over, be better, love you the way you deserved. The gallery falls silent around them, even. The rain seems to pause. Instead, I threw it all away for something that meant nothing. His voice breaks on the last word. Elena, I need you to know what happened with Sophia. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about wanting her. It was about being afraid that I wasn't enough for you anymore. That you'd wake up one day and realize you could do better. She stares at the sculpture, at the way the figures seem to hold each other like they'll never let go. Her chest aches with the weight of unshed tears. So you decided to prove yourself right? The words emerge sharper than she intended. I decided to sabotage myself before you could leave me. He steps closer, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his body. It was cowardly and selfish, and I've hated myself every day since. When she finally looks at him, really looks at him, she sees something she's never seen in David's eyes before. Complete vulnerability. No charm, no practiced words, no carefully constructed walls. Just raw, honest truth. I don't know if I can forgive you, she whispers. I know. He reaches out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and when she doesn't, his fingertips graze her, chic with infinite gentleness. But I'm hoping you'll let me try to earn it. The touch sends electricity racing through her veins, and she hates how much she's missed him. The storm outside intensifies, thunder rolling across the sky like a promise. One chance, she hears herself say. Just one. 2 weeks later, Elena finds herself standing outside David's photography studio at midnight, rain-soaked and trembling with more than just cold. His text had been cryptic. Something's wrong with the skylight. Could use your help before the morning. Shoot. She shouldn't have come. Dr. Martinez would have a field day with this enabling behavior. She'd call it trauma bonding. But David sounded genuinely distressed, and despite everything, she still cares about his work. His art was always the purest part of him. The studio door swings open before she can knock. Elena, relief floods his features. Thank God you came. I'm so sorry to call this late. But just show me the problem. She pushes past him into the familiar space, trying to ignore how his proximity makes her skin hum with awareness. The studio looks the same: exposed brick walls, industrial lighting, the lingering scent of developer chemicals, and the sandalwood candles he always burns during sessions. But something feels different, charged. It's upstairs, he says, his voice rougher than usual. They climb the narrow staircase to the loft space where he keeps his personal work, their footsteps echoing in the silence. She's acutely aware of him behind her, the sound of his breathing, the warmth of his body, the way he places his hand on the small of her back when she stumbles slightly on the top step. The touch burns through the thin fabric of her dress. I don't see any water damage, she says, scanning the ceiling. That's because there isn't any. She turns slowly to find him watching her with an expression that makes her pulse quicken. The storm outside paints shifting shadows across his face, and in the dim light, he looks dangerous, beautiful, like the man she fell in love with before everything went wrong. David, what? I lied. The confession hangs between them like a challenge. I needed to see you, and I knew you wouldn't come otherwise. Anger flares hot in her chest. You manipulated me. Yes. He doesn't deny it, doesn't apologize. Instead, he steps closer. Because you won't return my calls, won't answer my texts. And Elena, I'm dying without you. The raw honesty in his voice stops her retreat. These past 2 weeks, he continues, moving closer still, seeing you at the gallery, watching you walk away. I can't sleep, can't eat, can't concentrate on anything except the way you looked at me when you said I could have one chance. David, I keep thinking about that night, our last night together before everything fell apart. His eyes darken. With memory, do you remember? You wore that little silk nightgown, the champagne-colored one, and you fell asleep reading in my chair. I carried you to bed, and you wrapped your arms around my neck and whispered that you loved me. She remembers. God, she remembers everything, the weight of his arms around her, the way he'd kissed her temple as he pulled the covers over them both. How safe she'd felt pressed against his chest. The next morning, I got the call about the Anderson account. He continues, the beginning of all those late nights, all those meetings, all those lies. He's close enough now that she can see the flecks of gold in his green eyes. Elena, what if I told you there never was an Anderson account? The words hit her like a physical blow. What? There was no client, no meetings. His jaw clenches. I was seeing a therapist, had been for months, trying to figure out why I felt like I was losing you even though nothing had changed between us. Dr. Chen thought it might help if I worked through my abandonment issues before they destroyed our marriage. Elena stares at him, the pieces clicking into place with devastating clarity. You were getting help. I was trying to become the husband you deserved. He laughs bitterly. Instead, I created exactly the scenario I was afraid of. Started staying late at therapy sessions, then going to bars afterward because I was too wound up to come home. Started drinking too much. Started making terrible decisions. Sophia was a mistake that happened during one of those terrible decisions. A colleague who offered comfort when I was drunk and convinced I was losing everything anyway. He runs his hands through his hair. She didn't mean anything, Elena. She was just there when I was at my lowest. The rain pounds against the windows, filling the silence between them. Elena's mind races, trying to process this new information, trying to reconcile it with the pain she's carried for 6 months. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice is barely a whisper. Why didn't you tell me you were struggling? Because I'm an idiot. His hand rises to cup her cheek, thumb brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. Because I wanted to be perfect for you. Because I was afraid if you knew how broken I was inside, you'd leave anyway. She doesn't pull away from his touch. This time, can't pull away, because suddenly she understands. The late nights, the distance, the way he'd seemed to disappear into himself, it all makes terrible, heartbreaking sense. You should have trusted me, she whispers. I know. His forehead drops to rest against hers, and she breathes in the familiar scent of his skin. I know, baby. I'm so sorry. The endearment hits her like a caress. It's been 6 months since he called her that, and the word seems to unlock something in her chest she'd thought was permanently closed. Elena, her name on his lips is half prayer, half plea. May I kiss you? She should say no, should step back, create distance, protect the fragile progress she's made in putting her life back together. But standing here in the dim light of his studio, understanding finally dawning between them, she finds herself nodding. His kiss is nothing like she expected, not desperate or demanding, but soft, reverent, like he's trying to apologize with his mouth, to pour 6 months of regret and longing into the gentle pressure of his lips against hers. She responds despite herself, her hands fisting in his shirt, to pull him closer. He tastes like rain and possibility, and when he deepens the kiss just slightly, she makes a sound that's part moan, part sob. I've missed you, he whispers against her mouth. God, Elena, I've missed you so much it physically hurts. David, she wants to tell him she's missed him too, wants to let herself fall back into the safety of his arms. But the logical part of her mind raises red flags, reminding her of all the reasons she left. As if sensing her internal struggle, he pulls back slightly, his hands framing her face. I'm not asking you to come home, he says quietly. I'm not asking you to forgive me yet. I'm just asking you to let me try to earn your trust back. One day at a time. Thunder crashes overhead, and the lights flicker. In the momentary darkness, Elena sees their future balanced on a knife's edge, forgiveness on one side, permanent separation on the other. When the lights steady, she realizes she's already made her choice. One day at a time, she agrees, and watches hope bloom in his eyes like sunrise. 3 weeks into their tentative reconnection, Elena finds herself in David's kitchen at dawn, watching him make coffee with the same precise movement she remembers from their married life. Steam rises from the ceramic mugs, hers with extra cream, his black, and the domestic simplicity of it makes her chest ache with complicated emotions. They've been taking it slow. Dinners at neutral restaurants, walks through the park where they used to jog together, careful conversations that dance around the deeper wounds still healing between them. But this morning is different. This morning, she woke up in his bed. For the first time since everything fell apart, nothing happened. They'd simply fallen asleep on his couch during a movie, and he'd carried her upstairs like he used to, settling her under the covers before taking the guest room for himself, but waking up surrounded by his scent, in sheets that still smell faintly of the fabric softener she'd always used. Feels like stepping through a door she can't close again. You're thinking too loud, he says softly, not turning around from where he stands at the counter. The morning light streaming through the windows turns his dark hair copper and catches on the muscles beneath his t-shirt. Am I? You get this little wrinkle right here. He turns and taps his forehead. When you're overthinking. You've had it since you were 22, and trying to decide whether to accept that gallery position in Boston. The casual intimacy of the observation hits her unexpectedly hard. He's cataloged her expressions, memorized her tells, carried the knowledge of her in his body even through their separation. The realization that he still reads her so easily should be unsettling, but instead it feels like coming home. I didn't take that job, she says quietly. No. He moves closer, extending her coffee mug like an offering. You took the one here instead. Said you couldn't leave because you just met this photographer who made you laugh until your stomach hurt. Their fingers brush as she accepts the mug, and the simple contact sends warmth racing up her arm. I remember. I've thought about that decision a lot lately, he continues, settling beside her at the kitchen island, close enough that she can feel the heat radiating from his skin, but not so close as to crowd her. How different things might have been if you'd taken the Boston job. If you'd never met me, David, you'd be head curator by now, probably married to some brilliant academic who appreciates art and never works late, and definitely doesn't sabotage the best thing in his life because he's too scared to believe he deserves it. The pain in his voice makes her set down her coffee and turn to face him fully. Is that what you think I want, isn't it? His green eyes search her face with an intensity that makes her breath catch. Someone stable, someone who doesn't break your heart. For a moment, the only sound is the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the distant noise of the city. Waking up outside, Elena studies his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the way his lashes cast shadows on his cheekbones, the vulnerability he's trying so hard to hide. David. She reaches out slowly, giving him time to pull away, and when he doesn't, she places her hand over his heart. It beats fast and strong beneath her palm. The night I got that job offer, do you know what I did? He shakes his head. I called my mother to tell her about it. She was so excited, kept talking about all the opportunities, all the doors it would open. And the whole time, I kept thinking about this photographer I'd just met who kissed me in the rain and made me feel like I was the only woman in the world. His hand covers hers, pressing it more firmly against his chest. Elena, I didn't choose Boston because of you, she continues. I chose you because of you. Because when you looked at me, I felt beautiful and smart and worthy of love. Because you made me laugh and challenged me and saw parts of me I didn't even know existed. But I hurt you. His voice breaks slightly. I took all of that and I destroyed it. You broke my heart. She agrees and watches him flinch. But David, you didn't destroy what we had. If you had, I wouldn't be here right now. Hope flickers in his eyes like a candle flame. Does that mean? It means I'm willing to try. She whispers, but I need something from you first. Anything. She takes a shaky breath, gathering her courage. I need you to tell me what it was like that night with her. Not the details, she adds quickly when he starts to speak, but how it felt, what you were thinking, because I've imagined it 1,000 different ways. And I need the truth so I can stop torturing myself with my own versions. The silence stretches between them, heavy with unspoken pain. When David finally speaks, his voice is barely audible. It felt empty. He stares down at their joined hands. I was drunk and angry and convinced I was losing you anyway. She was there, and she was offering comfort, and I was too much of a coward to face what I was really feeling, which was terror. The word comes out raw. Absolute terror that you were going to wake up one day and realize you could do better, that you were already pulling away, and I just hadn't noticed yet. Elena's throat tightens. David, I know that now, he says quickly. Dr. Chen helped me understand that the distance I felt wasn't coming from you, it was coming from me, from my own insecurities, my own fear of abandonment. But that night, drunk and paranoid, all I could think was that you were slipping away, and I was powerless to stop it. So you pushed me away first. So I pushed you away first, he confirms. And Elena, the moment it was over, I knew I'd made the worst mistake of my life. I kept thinking about you at home, probably reading in bed, maybe wondering where I was, trusting me. Tears blur her vision. The next morning, when you came home, you were making pancakes, he whispers. Your hair was in that messy bun, and you were humming that song you always hum when you're happy. You kissed me good morning and asked if I wanted coffee, and I wanted to die. Because you looked at me the same way you always had, like I was worth loving, and I knew I didn't deserve it anymore. You could have told me then. How?" His laugh is bitter. "How do you tell the person you love most in the world that you've betrayed them in the worst possible way? How do you shatter someone's entire reality because you were weak?" Elena closes her eyes, processing the anguish in his voice. When she opens them again, she finds him watching her with desperate intensity. "I'm not proud of what I did," he continues. "Not the affair, not the lies, and definitely not the cowardice that led to that accidental call. But Elena, I need you to know it was never about not loving you enough. It was about loving you so much it terrified me." The admission hangs between them like a bridge they can either cross or burn. Elena feels herself standing at the threshold of forgiveness, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Show me," she whispers. "What? Show me." She moves closer, eliminating the careful space he's maintained between them. "Show me how much you love me." His breath catches. "Elena, are you sure? Because once I touch you, really touch you, I don't know if I'll be able to stop." "Then don't stop." The words emerge before she can second-guess them, but once they're out, she realizes she means them completely. "David, I'm tired of being careful. I'm tired of protecting myself from you. If we're going to do this, really do this, then I need all of you, not just the safe parts." Something shifts in his expression, turning him predatory and tender at the same time. "Elena, kiss me," she breathes. "Kiss me like you mean it." This time, when his mouth finds hers, there's nothing gentle about it. 6 months of separation, of longing, of desperate love pour out in the fierce pressure of his lips. She responds just as desperately, her hands fisting in his hair to pull him closer, her body arching into his as he backs her against the kitchen counter. "I love you," he murmurs against her mouth between kisses. "God, Elena, I love you so much it scares me. I love your mind and your body, and the way you wrinkle your nose when you're concentrating. I love how you cry during commercials and steal the covers and leave coffee rings on my books, David." His name comes out as a moan as his lips find the sensitive spot just below her ear. "I love that you came back to me," he continues, his voice rough with emotion. "I love that you're giving me another chance even though I don't deserve it. I love." She silences him with another kiss, pouring 6 months of hurt and hope and healing into the connection between them. When they finally break apart, both breathing hard, she rests her forehead against his. "I love you too," she whispers, and watches wonder bloom across his features. "I never stopped loving you, David. Even when I hated you, even when I wanted to forget you existed, I never stopped." Outside, the sun climbs higher in the sky, painting their kitchen golden. Inside, Elena feels something shift fundamentally between them, like pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. "So what happens now?" David asks, his hands gentle on her waist. Elena considers this, studying his face, the hope and fear and desperate love written there. Then she steps back slightly and extends her hand. "Now," she says, smiling at him for the first time since that terrible night 6 months ago, "you show me what you've learned in therapy about not being afraid of happiness." His answering smile is radiant as he takes her hand and leads her upstairs, toward whatever comes next. The afternoon light filters through the sheer curtains of David's bedroom, painting everything in shades of honey and gold. Elena sits on the edge of the bed, her hands folded in her lap, watching as he moves around the room with nervous energy. They've been dancing around this moment for weeks, that inevitable conversation about where they go from here. "You don't have to be afraid," she says softly. He stops pacing and turns to look at her. "I'm terrified," he admits. "What if I mess this up again? What if I'm not capable of being what you need, David?" She stands and moves toward him, each step deliberate. "Do you trust me?" "Of course." "Then let me decide what I need." She reaches him, places her hands flat against his chest. Through his shirt, she can feel his heart racing. "Right now, what I need is you. All of you. No more walls, no more careful distances. Just us." His hands come up to cover hers, and she can feel them trembling slightly. "Elena, if we do this, if I let myself love you completely again, I don't know how I'll survive if you leave." "Then don't let me leave." The words come out steadier than she feels. "Fight for us, David. Fight for me the way you should have 6 months ago." Something shifts. In his expression, a wall crumbling behind his eyes. You want honesty, complete honesty. Yes, I think about you constantly. Every morning when I wake up, every night when I go to sleep, I think about the way you taste, the sounds you make when I touch you just right. I think about how you used to arch beneath me and whisper my name like a prayer. Her breath catches at the raw desire in his voice. I think about our wedding night. He continues, moving closer until she has to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. How you cried when you saw me at the altar because you said I looked too handsome to be real. How you laughed when I fumbled with your dress buttons and told me we had forever to get it right. David, I think about the morning after when you woke up in my arms and told me you'd never been so happy. How you made me promise that no matter what happened, we'd always find our way back to each other. Elena's eyes fill with tears at the memory. I remember, I broke that promise, he whispers, his thumb brushing away the tear that escapes down her cheek. I threw away forever for one night of weakness. But Elena, if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. The intensity in his voice, the desperate love in his eyes, breaks something open in her chest. Show me, she whispers. Show me what forever looks like. This time, when he kisses her, it's with complete surrender. No holding back, no careful control. His hands frame her face as he pours everything into the connection. 6 months of longing, years of love, a lifetime of promises renewed. She responds with equal fervor, her arms winding around his neck to pull him closer. The kiss deepens, becomes consuming, and she feels herself drowning in the familiar taste of him. The way he holds her like she's precious and breakable and essential all at once. I miss this, she breathes against his mouth. I missed you. His answer is wordless, communicated through the reverent way his hands map the curves of her body, relearning territory that once belonged to him completely. When his fingers find the buttons of her blouse, he pauses. Are you sure? Instead of answering with words, she begins working at his shirt buttons, her movements deliberate and sure. They undress each other slowly, tenderly, with the careful attention of lovers reuniting after a long separation. Each revealed inch of skin is catalogued, cherished, worshipped. When they finally come together, skin against skin, Elena feels something fundamental shift in her chest. This isn't just physical desire, it's forgiveness made manifest, trust rebuilt through touch, love reaffirmed in the most intimate way possible. Elena, her name on his lips is reverent as he hovers above her, supporting his weight on his forearms. I love you so much it feels like dying. Then live, she whispers, pulling him down for another kiss. Live for this, live for us. What follows is a dance they both remember, but it feels new anyway, colored by loss and rediscovery, by the knowledge of how precious this connection is and how easily it can be broken. They move together with desperate tenderness, each touch a promise, each kiss a renewal of vows once spoken before God and family. When Elena arches beneath him, gasping his name, David's control finally shatters completely. I'm never letting you go again, he groans against her throat. Never. I don't care what it takes, I'm never losing you again. You won't, she manages, her hands fisted in his hair. David, you won't lose me. I'm here. I'm here. The words become a chant between them, a mutual promise that transcends the physical. I'm here. I'm not leaving. I love you. I choose you. Forever. Afterward, they lie tangled in sheets damp with sweat and tears. Elena's head on David's chest, his fingers combing through her hair. The late afternoon sun has shifted, painting the room in deeper shades of amber and rose. What happens now? She asks quietly. Now you come home. His arms tighten around her. Not to the same life we had before, I know we can't go back, but to something new, something better. Elena lifts her head to look at him, studying the hope and vulnerability in his expression. What would that look like? Therapy, together. This time, complete honesty, even when it's scary. And Elena, he cups her face in his hands. I want to renew our vows, not because the old ones don't count, but because I want to make them again with everything I know now. I want to promise to love you not just in the good times, but especially when I'm afraid, especially when I feel unworthy of you. Fresh tears spill down her cheeks. David, marry me again, he whispers. Choose me again, knowing exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. Choose us. knowing we'll probably mess up again, but that we'll fight to find our way back to each other every time. Elena considers this, the weight of what he's asking. It would be easier to walk away, to start fresh with someone who hasn't broken her heart. But love isn't about easy, it's about choosing someone over and over, even when they disappoint you. Especially then. Yes, she breathes and watches his face transform with joy. Yes, I'll marry you again. But David, anything. Next time you're scared about losing me, you come to me first. You let me help you fight those demons instead of fighting them alone. Promise. He seals the vow with a kiss that tastes like salt and promises and new beginnings outside. The sun sets over the city they'll rebuild their life inside. To people who almost lost everything, hold each other close and whisper plans for tomorrow and the day after that and all the days that follow. 6 months later, Elena stands in the same gallery where David first showed her the sculpture. But everything has changed. The space glows with warm light from dozens of candles, and small clusters of their closest friends and family sit in chairs, arranged before an altar made of intertwined tree branches and white roses. She's chosen a simple dress this time, ivory silk that flows like water and catches the candlelight. When she moves, in her hands, she holds a bouquet of white peonies and eucalyptus, the flowers she carried on their first wedding day 7 years ago. You look nervous, her sister Maya whispers, adjusting Elena's veil one final time. Good. Nervous, Elena replies, her eyes finding David at the altar. He wears a charcoal suit she's never seen before, and when their gazes meet, his face lights up with a joy so pure it takes her breath away. The ceremony is small, intimate, just 40 people who've watched them fall apart and choose to rebuild. Dr. Martinez sits in the front row beside David's therapist, Dr. Chen, both of them smiling like proud parents. Elena's colleagues from the gallery cluster together on one side, while David's photography friends occupy chairs on the other. But all Elena sees is David. When the music begins, not the traditional wedding march, but the jazz standard they danced to on their first date, Elena walks toward her husband with steady steps and a heart full of certainty. They meet at the altar as equals this time, not the young, naive couple they were 7 years ago, but to people who've been broken and rebuilt, who understand exactly what they're promising each other. Dearly beloved, the officiant begins, but Elena barely hears the words. She's lost. In David's eyes, in the way he's looking at her like she's a miracle he can't quite believe is real. When it's time for their vows, David goes first. Elena. His voice carries clearly through the space, strong and sure. 7 years ago, I promised to love you for better or worse, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. I meant those words then, but I didn't understand their weight. I didn't know that worse would mean watching you walk away, because I was too broken to trust in our love. I didn't know that sickness would mean the kind of fear that makes you sabotage the best thing in your life. A few people in the audience wipe away tears, but David's voice never wavers. Today, I'm making those promises again, but with full knowledge of what they cost. I promise to love you when I'm scared, especially when I'm scared. I promise to come to you with my fears instead of running from them. I promise to trust not just in your love for me, but in my worthiness of that love. He reaches out to take her hands, his touch warm and steady. I promise to spend every day for the rest of my life proving that second chances can be forever. Chances. Eleanor Rose Mitchell Hayes, will you take me as your husband again? Yes, she whispers, tears streaming down her cheeks. Always yes, when it's her turn. Eleanor's voice is steady despite her tears. David, I learned something important during our time apart. I learned that loving someone doesn't mean protecting yourself from them. It means choosing vulnerability every single day. It means trusting that they'll catch you when you fall. And more importantly, trusting yourself to survive if they don't. David's grip on her hands tightens. I choose vulnerability with you, she continues. I choose to trust not just in your love, but in our ability to weather whatever storms come our way. I promise to tell you when I'm hurt instead of building walls. I promise to fight for us, even when it's easier to walk away. I promise to love you not in spite of your imperfections, but because of them, because they make you real and human. And mine. She takes a shaky breath, her eyes never leaving his. David James Hayes, you broke my heart, and then helped me put it back together stronger than before. You taught me that real love isn't about never falling down, it's about always getting back up together. So yes, I take you as my husband again and again, and as many times as we need to choose each other. The kiss that seals their renewed vows is soft and sacred, witnessed by candlelight and the people who love them most when they break apart. Elena sees tears in David's eyes that match her own. I love you, Mrs. Hayes, he whispers against her forehead. I love you back, Mr. Hayes. The reception flows around them like a dream. They dance to the same song as their first wedding. But Elena notices how David holds her differently now. Not like she might disappear, but like he finally understands. She chooses to stay. Later, much later, after the last guest has left and the candles have burned low, they find themselves alone in the gallery with the sculpture that started their journey back to each other. Elena has changed into jeans and one of David's sweaters, her hair falling loose around her shoulders. So, David says, pulling her into his arms in front of the intertwined figures carved in stone, how does it feel to be married to me again? Terrifying. She admits with a laugh. Wonderful, right? All of the above. All of the above. She stands on her tiptoes to kiss him softly. David, I have something to tell you. The nervous excitement in her voice makes him pull back to look at her. What is it? Elena takes his hand and places it flat against her still flat stomach, watching as understanding dawns in his eyes. You 8 weeks, she confirms, laughing at the stunned expression on his face. I found out 3 days ago. I wanted to tell you during the ceremony, but I thought you might faint at the altar, Elena. His voice breaks on her name as he drops to his knees, pressing his face against her stomach. A baby, our baby. She combs her fingers through his hair. Are you happy? He looks up at her with tears streaming down his face and a smile that could power the city. Happy doesn't begin to cover it. Elena, you're giving me everything. Marriage, forgiveness, and now he places both hands on her stomach. How did I get so lucky? We both got lucky, she corrects, pulling him back to his feet. We got each other back. As they stand together in the gallery where their story began its second chapter, surrounded by art and candlelight and the promise of new life, Elena thinks about the journey that brought them here. The pain, the betrayal, the slow work of rebuilding. Trust, the way love can break you completely and still be worth fighting for. Do you think we'll make it this time? She asks quietly. David's arms tighten around her. Elena, we survived losing each other. We survived shame and betrayal and 6 months of believing it was over. We chose to do the hard work of healing instead of taking the easy path of walking away. He tilts her chin up so she's looking directly into his eyes. If we can survive all of that and still choose each other, we can survive anything. Outside, the city sparkles with possibility. Inside, to people who almost lost everything, hold each other close and whisper plans for the future, for the child they'll raise together, for the marriage they'll nurture day by day, for the love they'll choose over and over until their last breath. Forever, Elena whispers against his lips. Forever, David agrees and seals the promise with a kiss that tastes like second chances and new beginnings. And happily ever after. In the months and years that follow, there will be challenges, sleepless nights with a colicky baby, moments of doubt when old fears resurface, the daily work of choosing love over fear. But they'll face it all together, armed with hard-won wisdom and the unshakable knowledge that some love stories are worth fighting for. Their daughter will grow up hearing the story of how mommy and daddy found their way back to each other, how they learned that true love isn't about never falling down. It's about always getting back up together. She'll play at the base of the sculpture that brought them back together, the one that now sits in the garden of their new home, a permanent reminder that even broken things can be made beautiful again. And every year on the anniversary of their second wedding, they'll return to the gallery where it all began, renewing their vows not because they have to, but because they want to, because choosing each other has become as natural and necessary as breathing. Some love stories end with, "The first I do," but the best ones, the ones worth telling, are about what happens when you say "I do" again and again, choosing forever not just once, but every single day. This is their story. This is their forever. This is their second chance at ever after.